Ryan Day let us know how he feels about his quarterback room and said they're making the distinction to make Kyle McCord the starting quarterback for them going the rest of the way. Now, you remember, they finished fall camp. We all waited with bated breath to see who's going to be the guy. Is it going to be Kyle McCord? Is it going to be Devin Brown going into game one? And he just said, we're going to let them both play. We're going to let this thing continue to go on. They both deserve to play. So he was very happy just to say, we don't have a decision right now. We feel really good about both of them. Now, going into going into Western Kentucky after Youngstown State, they have made Kyle McCord the guy. So what does this mean for Ohio State? Maybe the better question is, what does it mean for Devin Brown? We'll unpack that all here in just a second. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've liked the video and locked and loaded for the rest of college football season. We appreciate y'all in advance for that. So Ryan Day cited consistency being a big thing for why Kyle McCord is his guy going forward. And if we're reading between the lines here, we've talked about it for a little bit on this show. We've been tracking this quarterback battle. It really does come down to, who do you trust driving your Ferrari? Do you trust the guy who maybe goes a little bit slower based on the reports from Letterman Row during fall camp, the guy who is a little bit more mistake-free, or the guy that is for sure going to take that thing 90 miles an hour, but there's always the potential for him to get a flat tire every now and then? That was the report. Devin Brown, through fall camp, the more exciting scrimmages, but also the potential for the bigger mistakes. So this is Ryan Day saying, hey, I'm going to give the keys to the guy that I trust the most to not crash this vehicle. Now, if you're an Ohio State fan, optically, you watched the games. You said, okay, well, how did you even arrive at that decision? We barely saw Devin Brown in those games. Devin Brown had like 13 pass attempts against Youngstown State. Are you really telling me that's how you're going to gauge the quarterback battle? This is never even a battle to begin with. What are you talking about? You can't tell me that's your guy if you're not even going to let him play. Not even going to let Devin Brown battle for it. I would say this, the rep distribution during these games, I think, tell the story of what happened in practice. Because Devin Brown has talent off the wall. But he must have made enough mistakes behind closed doors to ultimately keep him from getting the reps that you would like him to get in a game. And that's not a knock on Devin Brown. I think this could actually be the best thing in Devin Brown's career long-term. But I think you should be encouraged by the fact that Ryan Day is going with the guy that keeps both hands on the wheel and is trusting to drive his Ferrari of an offense. So it's no knock on Devin Brown. I just think the reps that were got in the game could be misleading because of what was happening behind closed doors in practice. Like, I would be enormously surprised if the reps were divvied up much less than 50-50 between Kyle McCord and Devin Brown as this thing wore on through fall camp and into those first couple of games. I think Kyle McCord earned his reps. I think Devin Brown earned his reps. And I think that's why you saw the decision that you saw. So there's also a thought that Kyle McCord is getting this job based off of seniority. Hey, he's the older guy. He's waited his turn. Why don't we throw him a bone and make him the starting quarterback? Maybe that's a factor. Maybe there's a piece of that played into it to start. But I'll just say this, Kyle McCord getting this job is definitively him being the better quarterback for Ohio State to go win football games. Like, if he wasn't the best option for them, he would not be the guy. The reason why I know that is, you don't think Ryan Day feels the weight of the world on his shoulders with what's happening against Michigan the last 2 years? You don't think Ryan Day is just fuming every single time he reads that quote that Jim Harbaugh's talking about him being born on third base and acting like he hit a triple? Like, you don't think that keeps him up at night? That kind of lights the fire for him a little bit every single day when they go out to practice? There is nobody on the face of this earth that wants to beat Michigan worse than Ryan Day. I promise you. So if he's saying Kyle McCord gives us the best chance to do that, he is doing that with his best interest, with the interest of this team in mind. So it's not a thing like, hey, we just trust him because he's been here longer. No. He's saying he gives us a chance to go and beat that team. Doesn't call him Michigan. He makes sure he says the rivalry game or that team, whatever kind of label you want to put to it. And we're going to go ahead and get it done because he's our guy. So the people that I think are talking about Devin Brown, I don't think it's unwarranted to say, well, what happens to him now? You know, the law of nature says it's very difficult to keep two quarterbacks of this caliber on your roster, and the transfer portal and this, that, and the other. Like, Devin Brown could probably go start somewhere tomorrow, given a couple days notice, and put up pretty good numbers. Like, I have a hard time believing that wouldn't be the case based on how talented he is. But I would also say this could be the best thing to happen to Devin Brown in his career. Because think about it this way. If Kyle McCord has a good year, goes to the NFL, gets drafted, let's say, anywhere in the first 3 rounds, well, Devin Brown has then sat behind not one, but 2 NFL quarterbacks, had a chance to really learn the system, see the way that it's done, kind of eliminate some of those mistakes that kept him from getting this job. And by the time he's the guy, he is all that you had hoped he would be when it came to him fighting for the job this upcoming year. So Devin Brown, I think the stage is set for him to have a year behind Kyle McCord, wait his turn, trust the process. I mean, Ryan Day has set this unofficial standard for quarterbacks at Ohio State. If you play quarterback for the Buckeyes, you will be a Heisman finalist, you will be a first-round draft pick. That's kind of the way it works. Now, Kyle McCord has to uphold that standard, but even so, to say that Devin Brown's just going to dip out of town because he didn't win the job this year, I would be a little bit more slow to make that statement definitively. A lot of it does depend on what Kyle McCord does this year. If Kyle McCord says, hey, I got to come back for another year, well, then that conversation opens up a little bit more, so that's fair to say. But if he's able to sit behind 2 NFL quarterbacks 2 consecutive years, that could do wonders for his maturation. Also, you're always a play away. That's always going to be the subplot for these guys, always going to be a story when you're the quarterback at Ohio State or any high-profile institution. But for Devin Brown, I think that's very legitimate. Also, think about it this way, too. If Kyle McCord does struggle, there's not a lot of other places in the country short of LSU where you look at the backup quarterback and say, he does give us a pretty good chance to win the football game. We do feel pretty good about him taking over. So that's not Kyle McCord half-stepping now, being the guy, or having to play timid. But I'm just saying, if you're Devin Brown, don't think that there's no way that you're going to eventually be the guy at some point in the year. Now, if you're an Ohio State fan, you hope Kyle McCord's your guy going forward, and this all works how you would hope it to, and he puts up great numbers. But I'm just saying, Devin Brown being in the wings here, not a bad thing for him. Not a thing where he's just going to watch the rest of the games. Ryan Day already said they want him to play, but just keep an eye on how that whole thing evolves. Now, the major question I have, and the thing that I think we're honestly going to see, is Kyle McCord play a little bit more free, maybe play with a little bit more confidence and push the ball downfield a little bit more, because there's a very big difference from driving a rental car and then driving your car. Because that's where I think he's at right now, getting the keys to this offense at Ohio State. Before, it's him and Devin Brown, and they're battling more or less behind closed doors, but Kyle McCord's getting more of the reps. But all he was focused on was not scratching that door, not busting a headlight, making sure everything went how it was supposed to go. Not do too much, just do what's asked of you and keep this thing rolling. Well, now he's been thrown the keys and told to drive. And this offense at Ohio State, it's built to go 90 down the freeway. You don't need me to tell you all the freak shows they have on that offense. They got a lot of them. It's built to score points. It's built to score right around 40 points a game. We know that. Kyle McCord now has the opportunity to really take ownership of this whole system, this whole operation. I'm curious to see how that looks. Now, I don't think they open it up a ton against Western Kentucky, but that game at Notre Dame, that's the game where you say, all right, Kyle McCord, we need you. We need you to drive this thing how it's supposed to be driven. Because they don't win a game at Notre Dame with an average Kyle McCord, in my humble opinion. So Kyle McCord has been made definitively the guy at Ohio State. The standard is extremely high in Columbus. We all know that. I can't wait to see how he responds. I can't wait to see how the team responds to him, rather, and what Ohio State does the rest of the way, now with that quarterback battle more or less being finished. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.